here with Alison Proffit. She is the owner of Soul Profit. That's what I want to call your business.
Profit coach.
Profit coach, because your last name is Profit, and that's what you do. You bring people profit.
That's right.
Hooray! So, how'd you get into being a profit coach?
Yeah. So my background is actually human resources. So it's really interesting that I'm now doing what I'm doing, because I never would have imagined that. How many of us have that story, right? So I worked in HR for many years. I wanted to do corporate coaching and consulting and just kind of do it under my own umbrella as opposed to working for somebody else. And I went through a coaching program, fell in love with coaching, and then I had multiple times of trying to start my business over a number of years, and I didn't have success, partly because I wasn't making sales. Because spoiler alert, in order to have a business, it requires making sales, and so I had a really awesome opportunity to work in a sales position at Constant Contact, which is a digital marketing platform for people that don't know. And I fell in love with sales there, which was so strange to me. I didn't really know that I was going to fall in love with it. I kind of took the job while I was going through a divorce and just needed a job opportunity and wanted to try something other than HR. So when I left there, I started to start in my business. I initially did marketing strategy consulting. And I was profitable in my first month. And people that knew me were like, how are you profitable? You just started your business. And I didn't have a website. I didn't have business cards. I had $200 to my name, literally. And that was in October 2019. And when people ask me that question, like, how are you profitable right now? It's like, well, I understand sales. And then it dawned on me, hey, I know that there's lots of other small business owners that probably feel the same way about sales, right? They hate it. They feel it's pushy, it's icky, it's gross. And I had learned how to fall in love with it and really do it from a very authentic and heart-centered place. And it's all about relationships, really. And so most people know it's about relationships, but they still have a weird connotation with it related to selling. And so that really has been a big part of my passion, is to help people with all of the components of sales. And it's not just having the conversations, it's also having a lot of clarity and confidence in how to talk about what you do and what you sell and how you price it. And I tend to do a lot of money mindset work, because sales equals the exchange of money. And so if you've got weird money issues, which most of us do in some little corner of our worlds. And so in 2020, I really focused on sales coaching. And then in 2021, which is the first year that I ran the summit that we're going to be chatting about a little bit, that really made me realize that because of my HR background and some of my other experiences, I really have a great business overarching lens. And so moving in the direction of doing business coaching, but integrating my passion for really integrating the whole person into what they do. Because I think as a business owner, and in the corporate world, it's very much like, this is the business line, this is the personal line, don't cross it. When I worked in HR, I always like to say that, like, your employees don't leave their lives at the time clock. They're a whole human. And I think it's really, really important that we integrate in ourselves into our business. And I love helping people figure out how to do that. And that's really where the Soulful thing comes into play. Initially, it was really just helping people feel like sales can be this soulful thing, that it can be a connection-oriented thing. So that's sort of like the high level kind of weaving journey of how I got to doing what I'm doing now.
Sounds really nice. It sounds like you learned sales from Constant Contact. You realize that your whole person, whole people want to be sold to, maybe, but it's working. So you did all that, and you went to help other people with their selling. What was your first experience like teaching someone else what you know?
Yeah, so I've actually been doing that my whole career. So it was a very natural transition for me. When I worked in HR, I had a lot of training and development background. And so that just came very naturally to me. It was an easy transition. And I think that when you're teaching somebody something some people will tend to say, this is how I know how to do it, so do it this way. And for me, I think it's really important to say, here's some foundational knowledge and skills, and now let's make it fit you. And I think that that's really what soulful sales is all about. Some people really, and I like to say that sales and marketing are inextricably connected. So you may hear me talk about sales, and then you may hear me talk about marketing, because they're so connected. So when you think about marketing, for example, there are so many different ways to market. The foundational part of marketing is that it's important to be speaking to the people who you're hoping to sell your product or service to, and being really clear and simple about what it is that your product and services can do. Like, what's the bridge that it will help them cross? And that's marketing, right? Like that's the foundation of what marketing is. How you execute on that is really different. Some people really like to do speaking. Some people really love making content. Some people prefer to go to networking events and shake hands, and some people like to, do things that maybe don't necessarily serve them. So we could talk a little bit more about that as we go through. But there's a lot of hiding that happens when people say they're doing marketing. They're not really putting themselves out there because they feel some sort of soul misalignment with putting themselves out there and talking about themselves and what they do and why they do it and why theirs is the best. So.
Yeah, I felt that way when I first started out. And then I realized I wasn't putting out anything to be sold. That's why I wasn't making any money. I wasn't asking anybody for money for the things that I was trying to teach them. But I realized that now, and now I can put things together.
Yay.
Yeah, it really makes a big difference. Sales are important, like you said, because that's how you run your business, or that's how you
Yeah.
keep your business afloat.
Exactly. I like to say, like running a business is actually really pretty simple, and you don't necessarily need all kinds of bells and whistles. You need to have clarity on what you sell, like knowing what do you sell. You have to understand how to talk about it to other people, and then you have to have a way of collecting the money. Like, that's literally how I started my business, and that's how I ran it for like a month and a half. Like, I didn't have any other things. It was those three pieces. And so for people, there's a lot of people that are waiting, right? They're waiting to have all the pieces in place. And I'm going to put a pin in that statement because that's going to come up when we talk about virtual summits. But you don't have to have everything perfect, everything put together, everything figured out to start. It's the baseline. Like, what are you offering? Who is it perfect for? How do you talk to people about that? And then how are you collecting the money?
So now I want to ask, how did you get into virtual events? What was your first one like, and what made you want to keep going with it?
Yeah, so the first virtual event that I was a part of was not necessarily related to my business. I ran a women's networking group. I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado. So in the northern Colorado area, I'd launched a women's networking group. It was like a chapter of a group that already existed. And the day of our very first meeting, it was supposed to be an in-person type of group, and we would have multiple types of meetings each month. The day of our first meeting was when all the COVID stuff shut northern Colorado down. So, super inconvenient, right? And so when that all happened, we really felt like there was interest in our group, and we wanted to find a way of how do we give back to our northern Colorado business community here. And we thought, why don't we do something that's not just, when I say we, it was me and my two other leadership team members that were on my team helping me grow this networking group here. And so we thought, why don't we do something where we're bringing together some amazing resources, including some of the economic development team members here in northern Colorado, and create like a week-long virtual event that really gathers people, right? Because this is like the very beginning of us not being able to gather anymore. It was like a month, it was in April 2020 that we created this event. And it was me and these two other women, and the three of us, we blew it out of the water. It was amazing. It was so fun. We had somebody that really had some great visions for this event. And so the three of us came together, and it was a collaborative effort. And we just used Zoom. We kept it fairly simple because everybody was so confused about what was happening in the world, right? And it was really powerful, I think, too, that we included our economic development people, because it allowed us to really lean into having some people that had authority and some information that people were needing. All the things about, like PPP and like all of those different financial resources that were being rolled out. And so it was really fun, and I learned a lot from that experience. And I definitely, earlier you were talking a little bit about my energy dropped when I was doing a task over on my computer. And typically in an event, I'm really good at holding energy and moving energy along and facilitating. Again, that comes from my background in my corporate career. And it was a very successful event. We had more than 100 people registered for it. And it was like our window of registration was very short. It was like 3 weeks or something between the time we planned it and executed on it. And then that same women's organization, they had looked at how great we did in that event. And they then wanted to create a virtual women's conference in September, leaning on the successes that we had had in our little event. And so that was really fun to be a part of that. That was in September 2020. And those two events combined really gave me some great exposure to, because the woman that heads up that women's organization, which doesn't exist anymore, they ended up having to fold because of drop in numbers with COVID. But she had a lot of like systems and operations background. So she had really great like run of show documents. And so that helped us see the progression of, the timelines of like how we want to stay on schedule, and the things to drop into the chat at different points so that you weren't having to go to 4 different places, that everything was in one document. And so being a part of both of those events was really a foundation for me to run the events that I now run for Profit Coach. And I love connecting with people, and I think it could happen virtually or in person. And so I encourage anybody to like give it a go.
Sorry, my mic was off.
That's okay. I was like, oh, I can't hear. I was like, I'm just going to sit here and pretend I can. That's how you do. We're rolling live here, people. This is what happens.
My daughter comes in and she likes to sing really loud when I'm on camera. So sometimes I turn my mic off. Because I don't know if my Crisp is working or not. It's a noise cancellation app, and it only picks up human voices. And since she's singing and clearly human, it lets her come through. You host an event, and from that event, people wanted you to host more events. That's a good thing. I like events after events after events. So how did you decide on 5 days?
Well, so the event that that I'm running for as part of my business now, in the work that I do, I really think that there are pillars. There are pillars to our businesses. So I'll share what the pillars are, because there's 5 of them. Hence 5 days. So the first day is about mindset, right? And I mean, we can have all the skills and have all the knowledge, and there's tons of really smart people out there trying to start businesses, and then they like get in their own way in a lot of different areas. So I mean, me too, right? Like I'm not perfect by all means. Like, let's have a call, people. I'll peel back the curtain and I'll show you where I'm a mess. So mindset is really important, but it is not the only thing. And so I think that there are some business coaches and consultants that they'll kind of just like go in one area, or they'll lean really heavily into the mindset stuff. But I think that like the skills and the foundational knowledge is really important in these next 3 areas. So the second day we talk about, we call it Soulful, money and time. And so what that is all about is, obviously money is really clear. It's like your pricing, it's sales. It's also making smart financial decisions in your business. And then Soulful Time is about really like resource management. And are you aligning what you're doing with what you love to do, right? A lot of people, when they're running a business, they're just busy all the time. And we cannot be creative when we're busy all the time. And so we have to be intentional about what we're doing with our time. And one of the taglines in my business is that joy is the best business strategy. And so I think it's really important to not only love what you're doing, but how you're doing it. And so that is kind of the foundation of Soulful Time. And so really kind of talking about like the operations aspect of your business. So that's some of the things that come in on the second day. Day 3 is about messaging. So we already talked about that. You need to know how to talk about what it is that you're selling, and why you love to sell it and why a person should buy it. So it's really about messaging. So your branding, your just different aspects in terms of how do you market, because there's lots of different ways to market. A lot of people here are watching this on social media, of course, but social media is not the only way. There are businesses out there that aren't doing things on social media. Spoiler alert, like it is true. It's just a different way of doing business. Day 4 is about community building, because, I mean, Erica, you're doing this, right? You're building a community of people who love virtual summits. So we also kind of find our ways of building our community in a way that really aligns with us. I'll give you a great example. I'm not a fan of running a Facebook group, and I'm not on Facebook. So I've been very conscious about when do I do things on Facebook and when do I not do things on Facebook. I don't want to be on Facebook all the time, and that's just me. That's just what's important to me. And so finding those places, I use Mighty Networks as part of our community for our summit. And that feels really good and it feels very aligned. So it's like finding those ways of doing community building that work well for you. And by the way, building a community doesn't need to mean thousands of people. Your community might be 30 people, and that's okay. It's just, what are you doing with it? And then the 5th topic is holistic success. So it's bringing all of the things together and doing it in a way where you're not forgetting about like your own mind, body, and spirit. Because again, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so that's really what day 5 is about. It's about kind of wrapping it all up in a bow and making sure that if you're feeling dissonant in one area versus another, how do you kind of lean on your strengths to kind of bring your weaknesses in, and not to let them detract from your success. And maybe there's somebody within your community that can help you with that area. So that's how we got to the 5 days, the 5 pillars of what we call soulful success.
I like that. It's one topic building on another, helping you become whole, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people find that they know a lot of stuff and they're trying to fit it all together, but it's discombobulated. Like I tell my husband sometimes I want to put things together, but my cart is always before my horse. So I need someone else to look at it to help me reassemble. So that's what I think your event will do.
Yeah, exactly. I love that idea. It's like, it is so true that like, it's so hard for us to see the whole picture because we're so close to it, right? I mean,
Yep.
this is why, I mean, I guess, of course, a coach is going to say every business person needs a coach, but it's true. Like I have a coach, right? I mean, like, I mean, just it's why we have teachers, right? I mean, when you're going to school, like, sure, you could probably learn all the things, but it'll take you longer. It'll probably be harder. That's why we send children to school, right? Even you as parents, like if you're a parent and you have a kid, homeschooling is a different experience than having a teacher do it because there's this different emotional connection. So you can't see the forest for the trees, right? I mean, like it's just harder. I mean, you can do it, it's just harder. And so, and I also think it's more fun to do things with people. So
School is great. I went to college for a lot of things. Just now, really putting everything into in order that I can use it. I went to school for graphic design, and just yesterday, I've started this at the beginning of November. I knew I needed a website. I needed a new website. Putting it together, so frustrated I left it alone. I couldn't graduate until I passed my web design class because our teachers, well, or our curriculum said that if you're a graphic designer, you may need to become a web designer one day. You may need to know this stuff. It's true. So just yesterday, it all came together. I hated it, but I left it alone, came back. Finally, I feel relieved.
Yeah, and I love that you did that, Erica. This is the thing that I feel like I teach is that, people think that it's like a linear process, right? It's like there's a checklist of things and you have to do the things. And especially if you're coming from the corporate world, productivity and like following the order and following the structure. It's like, no, it's messy. It's messy. Let it be messy. And also, there was some reason, like I would love to, we're not going to do this unless you want to, but I feel like there is something magical around why waiting was better, right? And you maybe didn't understand the reason, but perhaps you had more kind of clarity and more knowledge that you had not intentionally picked up and gathered along the way that made your website even better. So like when you feel, I just, my newsletter that I just wrote, the topic was discerning the difference between discomfort and dissonance. So dissonance is sort of that, like, it doesn't feel aligned. Discomfort is, it's annoying, right? And so those two things can happen at the same time, but understanding the minute differences. Sure, maybe you were ready to build your website, but you didn't have like all the patience in the world for doing it. That's discomfort. But perhaps there was just something was missing. Something was missing and it wasn't the right time. And there's a lot of, this is the soulful part of me coming out, but this is where really having faith in something bigger than you and knowing that like, you're not in control, like whoever it is you believe in or whatever it is you believe in, every time that you're making a plan, every time that you're like, no, I have to do it this way, that entity, that higher being is up there laughing at you and saying, oh, my dear child, like you are so adorable with your plans. You're so cute. When things aren't working out or happening, it's so much better to kind of like put it on a shelf for a moment and walk away, but doing it intentionally, right? Having an intention on why you're putting it aside, why you're walking away. I did that with selecting a CRM platform for my business. I had one, I hated it, I didn't use it. And I finally was like, you know what, I'm going to stop researching because that's a rabbit hole. And I wanted to be in a really good space, like mentally and spiritually and all of those pieces when I made my selection of my CRM tool. And then when I wasn't looking, a coach I was working with shared like the tool he was using. I was his client. I was like, what is this tool? It's amazing. And so I ended up selecting that tool and he gave me a behind the scenes tour. And now I love my CRM tool. Nerd notice, right? Like I love my CRM tool.
Now I want to know what it is. I am
Oh,
so nosy.
yeah, I use Coach's Console. So it's a CRM that's very specific to coaches. And here's the thing about technology, and Erica, you'll know this, is that people are looking for a one thing does it all type of thing. And I like to use the analogy that like, okay, if you need surgery, you're going to go find a surgeon. But if you need brain surgery, you're going to find a brain surgeon. You're not going to have like a foot surgeon operate on your brain, even though that foot surgeon is probably amazing because feet are complicated, right? But like, and you're not going to want a brain surgeon to operate on your foot. Like those two things they're connected, right? They're in our body, but they're very, very separate from each other. They do different things. And so I think the same is true with technology is that you are not necessarily, you're going to find something that maybe does all the things, but it's not going to do all the things well. And so sometimes that is where having a technology stack, like having multiple pieces of technology stack on each other might be valuable. I like to follow the KISS method. I like to say, keep it soulfully simple. So, and that's not for everybody. Like I know Stacy, somebody within your community, she's like the technology wizard and she has all these technology tools that she's got in her tool belt. You are the same way. And for some people, like they aren't interested in using a lot of tech stack, and I'm kind of that way. And so I just kind of figure out like what's really important to me and what's not important to me. And keeping it really simple in terms of those technology pieces is important. So my CRM, it doesn't do all the things, but it does the things that are really important to me really well. And that's what matters most to me.
I have one CRM, had no trouble picking it. It is Sales Flare. I don't use it. I got caught up in autoresponders, and I am supposed to pick one autoresponder and connect them. I never done that,
Hmm.
but I will. I
Yeah.
use I use Fox for my autoresponder. I was using Gist, but I can use it for a bunch of different things. And like you said, like Stacy, the technology therapist, I get caught up in the tech. I've been to other masterminds for business owners, and I get caught up in the tech and what I'm doing. And the mastermind leader will stop me and says, "Erica, nobody here knows what you're talking about." And I'm like, oh, like so sad, because I get so hyped up when it comes to talking about tech and running your business with automation. Yay for automation.
It's really interesting. So I think automation is really powerful, but exactly what you just said, it's very easy to get lost in it. And that's one of the things that I think we did really well with our summit. And when I say we did it well, there's a part of me that's like, all right, well, maybe drop the ball a little bit. Like, we didn't have a lot of our emails pre-populated in the first time that we did it. We didn't really have, and part of that is because we were building it as we went, right? So there's, let me give some grace there. Like, we didn't know what we were going to be writing because we didn't really know what was going to be happening in the event, even though we had a plan, but it also happened very organically. And I'm the kind of person of like, I don't want to just kind of put canned information out there. I want things to be very organic. And that's a skill that I'm learning to leverage in a different way, right? I mean, it does make it harder for me to plan because I think intuition is my plan. And sometimes intuition doesn't happen right away. But I love that you're bringing that up. It's like automation is really great, but like, don't let that stop you from starting. Don't let that, like, just because you don't have all the pieces in place, don't let that stop you. One of the things that we actually said, and know your audience, right? Know, is that important to them? The end of our summit this past January, we told people, we were like, so you're not going to be getting 20 emails about this thing, because we made an offer for a program at the end of the event. And we were like, so you're going to get like 2 emails about it, and that's it. So if this is exciting to you, go do the thing from the 2 emails, because we're keeping it soulfully simple. We were here, we were fully present in this event, and our people were like, awesome, I hate getting tons of emails. So it's like, know your audience, right? I mean, the automation could be really good for you, but is it moving the needle forward on your business, or are you hiding? Sometimes doing things in our business is actually us avoiding doing other things that might really matter.
Yeah, I think the automation helps me stay lazy. I love Hey Summit, and Hey Summit will give you, I think it's 16 populated emails. You can turn them on and off. You can change them if you want to, and tell it what to do, tell it when to go out. That's it. But like you said, you can't have too many emails. But see, you were talking about wanting control. Yeah, I do feel that automation for me is a form of control. Right now, I'm a one person business owner, or I'm the one person running my business, except when hosting events for other people, I bring in 4 other people. But yeah, automation helps me have just a little bit of control. If I can set something up once and have it run for me, I'm like, yay. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I don't know if I am making that soulful connection with my Facebook group, or my mastermind, or the people I meet on social, because I even have a bot that says happy birthday to people on Facebook.
Well, and I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, I think there's some real beauty to technology, right? I mean, thankfully we have technology here. Like, this is how we met. We met virtually. I mean, how awesome. And we were on a really big meeting. It was like, there was like 75 people on the speakers playland thing, that playground thing that we were on. And
Speaker Playhouse.
yeah,
Shout out to Kimberly Pro.
that's right. Use my affiliate link. I'm on the leaderboard. But, you know, I mean, I think that like technology is really powerful. And one of the things that I always kind of say to my clients when I'm trying to help them figure out what feels good and aligned in their business is put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. What do you like getting in your inbox? How do you like being engaged with? And then do that, right? And so technology can help us with that. And also, if you lose the personal touch, then that may not be serving your business, right? And it may not be serving your heart and soul, and it may not be the thing that's going to serve your people. So whenever people start kind of having those thoughts of like, yeah, you know, I don't really know if this is like creating the connection, I always like to remind people, like, go back to like, what are your personal values? And like, why did you get into this business? Often people are going to say to help people. So then you can kind of walk backwards to say, how is this helping people? How is this helping people? How is this helping people in the way that I want to be helping them? If you want a totally hands-off business, I always tell clients, like, or prospects rather, because I've had people come to me and they're like, I really want to, like, you know, have this business just run on autopilot, and I don't want to, I'm not your coach. And I'm so upfront about that. It's like, I'm not your coach. My top value is connection. And I tend to attract people who are like wanting to build a business based on connection and interacting with people, and not just sitting behind a computer, not having any human interaction. And so like, those are my people. But people that are just wanting to like do all these automated funnels and things like that. Again, I think automation is really powerful. And I sometimes wish I was even better at it, because I think sometimes I get a little bit like behind the eight ball with like doing some of those tasks. But my clients get me, right? They get the connection with me. And like, and so there are certainly definitely things that I have automated in my business and I want to automate more, but in due time, right? Like, I'm not trying to build a bajillion-dollar empire where I have like thousands of clients. That's not the kind of business I'm looking to run. I'm running, you know, I don't like to use the word boutique, but it's like I'm running more of a small boutique coaching and consulting business. So like, how much time am I going to spend in my marketing and automation of all of those pieces when I do have the bandwidth to provide, you know, more personalized things? So again, it's all about what's important to you, right? And so don't do just what Erica's doing. Don't do just what Alison's doing. Like, find what's good for you and like, go do that. And if you need help figuring out the how to do that, then, you know, like people like myself and Erica, and there's so many other awesome humans out there. Like, I think, you know, they're rising tides lift all boats. Like, I've got a whole slew of people that I can introduce people to if I'm not the right coach and consultant for them.
One of my favorite things that I like to tell myself is that I'm a linchpin. So for my mastermind group, I like to connect people with like-minded people. I like to help them find things that they're looking for. So I can also share in that aha moment with them when they finally find what they're looking for. That's great for me. And I can't automate that. That's just something that I can do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but like I said, I like the automation, but I know it's not for everything. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I'm going to do a little plug here for Erica's mastermind group. Like, you know, I was able to take part in it for a little bit. And it's just really great. Like, she attracts amazing humans, and you just have this, you're such like a service oriented personality, Erica. And I think just the way that you hold space and just the collection of different personalities and where people were in their businesses when I got to be in that group was just really, really magical to be a part of. Because I think like building community is what it's all about. And that's what your mastermind is. And I love what you said about like, you know, there's those linchpin moments where it's like you're helping somebody, you know, in the moment, and you can't do that through automation. And that's one of the things that we say about our summit, is that the magic is in the moments. So our event is all live. It is not recorded. There is maybe 2 pre-recorded pre-summit things that are more like educational. And we tell people like, you can get an all access pass so that you can get recordings, but the magic is in the moments. And some of those moments aren't actually on the recordings because they're like the little chatter that happens between the recorded sessions. And so I just think that that's really beautiful that you reflected on, like, oh yeah, like those little things, they don't happen through automation. So thinking about, again, like, how do you like to be delivered to as a client? How do you like to be engaged with as a consumer? And keeping that top of mind, and also your own personal values, like those are the things that can be really great kind of guideposts for you on your roadmap to your business's journey of success.
Um, Before I got into Talk Virtual, I ran Subconscious Self, and I was trying to help freelance graphic designers move from the mindset of freelancer and onto the mindset of business owner,
Mm,
because a knight without a king is a freelancer. So if you're a freelancer in a graphic design, or you're into graphic design, you are an employee without a company. So a lot of the things I would tell them to do is be mindful of how you feel, because how you feel affects your work. Your work represents you. Your work is a representation of your name. When your name is out there with bad work, you don't want to be associated with it. So mindfulness in this business now looks like, what emails do I open? Why did I open it? Did I even look at the subject line, or did I open it because I knew the name of that person?
right.
Uh, who can you delete from all those emails that you don't want to hear from? And when you're running an event, what do you want to feel when you're hosting an event? Do you want to feel hype energy? Do you want to feel a calm flow? And when you invite speakers, what do you want your speakers to get from hanging out with you, being associated with you, being a representation of you during this event? The same
Mm,
with your sponsors. Who do you want to come hang out and tell your audience that they know you? Because when you host an event and you're handing out recordings, people are going to remember because they're recordings. Some people actually do go back and watch those.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I do. I definitely know people do go back and watch them. I'm basing it on analytics from last year. Like, nobody watched the recordings. So I was like, this is interesting. Thank goodness I didn't spend a whole lot of time on post-production, right? But yeah, I love that so much, Erica. And like, it's like one of the reasons I think that we resonated with each other. Like, how do you want to feel going into it? Because the goal is the feeling, right? It's like,
Yeah.
there's this kind of phrase of like, often the way we set goals is like, when I have this, I can do this, and then I will be that, right? Like, when I have this job, then I can make the money so that I can go and do these vacations I want to do, and then I will be happy.
Yeah.
Goal setting ought to be reversed. Happiness, like, you can always have it, right? It's like right there, or peace, or calm, or joy, or whatever the feeling is for you. And when you're in the feeling, then the way that you are doing the things, it creates the results. And
Yeah.
I love that you and I kind of resonate with that whole thing. Like, how do you want to be showing up, and focusing on that being the goal? Because I think that everything follows the feeling.
Yeah, that's true. So when you're hosting your 5-day events, um, what's the takeaway you want your guests to come away with after hanging out with you for 5 days?
Yeah, so just reflecting on our event, that our first event, people felt that they had found their people, and I think that that's so important. And I mean, really, the event is about obviously learning skills is a piece of it. So you'll learn skills, there'll be actionable things that you're going to be able to take away within those pillars. But one of the themes from last year was, or from the 2021 event, was permission. Like, so many people felt like they had permission to do their business in their way. They had permission to wait. They had permission to raise their prices. I mean, that's one of the sessions. So even though I run the session, I also lead a couple of sessions. That's something I learned from somebody else that does a lot of summits. They said a lot of times people that run summits, they don't highlight themselves. And I was like, oh, well, I should build myself into the schedule. Yes. So talking about pricing is something that I bring into the summit. And I mean, there is so much, I mean, we all could be raising our prices. We all could, right? I mean, our services and our products are especially services, right? Because you're pouring yourself and all of your background into what you're doing. So your services are probably worth like, 20 times than what you're charging. It doesn't mean you're going to raise your price 20x, but you could. I know I could. Why am I not doing it? I don't know. Like it's a journey, right? It's not a light switch, it's a dimmer. So permission to be your whole self in your business, permission to do what you love to do, and guidance on like, how can you do that and also be profitable? Because this isn't about like, oh, I just want to run a charity business. Like the goal is money. I mean, I like to say like profit is actually the last name I was born with. So I didn't change it for my business and, get kitschy and add an extra F. It's like, no, Proffit is my last name. I was born with it. And I like to say like my destiny was in front of me my whole life. It just took me, when I started my business, I was 39. So I just say it took me 39 years to see that my business, my destiny was in front of me my whole life. We want you to be profitable, but we want you to do it in a very soul aligned way. And I love what you were talking about with freelancers being employees without a company. For many entrepreneurs, the last thing they want to do is be working in a job for somebody else. And there are people that have jobs that they really love, but I created an acronym for the word job because a lot of jobs are joy optimization blockers, JOB, right? And I would say joy is the best business strategy. So we see as being here, joyfulness and soul. Our goal is to make money so that we don't have to go get a job. And, I've actually had jobs that I really loved. I loved my job at Constant Contact. I mean, that Constant Contact, I'm a reseller for them and I still integrate email marketing, helping people with that and getting their platform set up into my business because I resonated so deeply with that company and how they ran their business. And so, but most of us don't want to go and get a job. And if we do, we want it to be something that is allowing us to be super joyful. So the goal is to give you permission to run your business in the way that you want, and trust that there is, a divine timing and unfolding of things. And sometimes you have to give yourself permission to pause and not rush forward on something because, a mastermind partner told you to, or this coach you hired told you to, or you're looking around online and you have all this FOMO and you just have this imposter syndrome. But give yourself permission to stop it. Like that's one of my favorite lines in my coaching business is like, stop doing that, which is so not coaching. It's very directive, but because you could spend years unpacking all of the why behind, like, why are you delaying? It's like, maybe you just need to stop staring at that thing for a minute, put it on the shelf and go put your energy into something else. Because there is power in the pause. And so giving yourself permission, giving yourself sort of like that space to have some faith that everything is actually on its way. Look backwards in your life and look at where faith, like when you had faith, everything worked out for the best. You learned something from those lessons. So I think it's really just inspiration, permission, community, and of course, like actionable things to go get what done. I don't know if there's cursing allowed on here, so.
It's all right. One of the things in our mastermind groups, shout out to the virtual summonteers, is we're all addicted to AppSumo. We truly love it. But we also know that we don't need everything that AppSumo offers because it's just very shiny over there and we're really attracted to it. So one of the things we do is if someone's looking for something, we say, what do you already have that can do that? You need to make a list. You need to go through that list and see if you need this new shiny thing or can you work with what you already have. If not, we make you do the research on that new shiny thing because you have to go in the search bar and type in that new shiny thing and see what else comes up. And if you get tired, you don't want to look anymore, and you just want that one thing, go ahead and get that one thing. But if you actually put some effort into it and you're confused, maybe you need to stick with what you have.
That's like, keep it soulfully simple, people. Kiss,
So
kiss, kiss your way to success. That's what I like to say.
Yeah, it's very good to stop, see if the pause can help you, because it really can. There's magic in not doing anything, taking a walk, meditating, finding the gaps in between, and being mindful about how you feel about things, because we don't need everything that the internet offers us.
Yeah, exactly. And that is actually something that we've built into our event. So we actually have guided meditation sessions built in throughout the event. We call them our experiential embodiment sessions. So we've got people that have some training and expertise in breath work. I do a lot of guided meditation in the way I do my coaching and consulting work. So we bring that into the session. There's actually going to be and these are like 10-minute parts of the event. So they're not like, 2-hour long, like meditation sessions. Like this is very intentional because that's what we want to do. We want to model for people the importance of slowing down. I mean, like, let's just do this right now. Like if you're watching, and Eric, I invite you, like, let's just like take a slow, deep breath in through our nose and just slowly exhale. And let's do that 2 more times because it might be the first time today that you've done this.
Yeah, it is.
Because life is busy and has complications and has other people and clients. And when we reconnect with our breath, what we're doing is we're actually calming our nervous system down and allowing like our monkey mind to kind of not be the thing that's taking over, getting like just even those 3 breaths, even though I was talking in between them, I already feel more grounded and centered. And so really showing people the importance of that is a part of the summit. It's not just about running, hustle, grind. You will burn out. And there was an article on LinkedIn, it was one of their LinkedIn like interview things that they did. And it was like, the hustle isn't going away. And I was like, that is so sad. Having worked in corporate HR for 15 years, I think it's the saddest thing that like people still are in that place of like, I'm not good enough because I need to do more. And I need to do it faster and I need to do it better. And I just, it's the wrong message. Like, no wonder why people are anxious. No wonder why mental health is a problem in our world. It's because we're putting so much pressure on ourselves and on other people. And again, my favorite line in coaching, we need to just stop it. And be kinder to ourselves and be kinder to each other. And just see the intrinsic value that we all kind of bring, and I just think that so many people have lost their way. And like, how do we do that in the world that we're in today? Because there is so much outside noise and there is so much outside pressure and there's a lot of shiny stuff and new shiny stuff is coming up all the time. And some of us have, created new shiny things and that's awesome, right? But in order for you to bring your new shiny thing to the world, you will do a better job to yourself and to your potential customers if you slow down, because it's like you're then giving them permission that they don't need to rush. And that's going to make them feel, wow, this feels good. I think I like this. I think I've been seeking this. Don't really quite understand how to get there. And then sometimes that means that you might end up attracting people who think that they want what you have and they're not quite ready. And that's something that I have, definitely encountered. And that's just a part of running a business. Like, not everybody is your ideal customer. And they might come on board because they want what you have, but they're so consumed in the world of like the busyness and the productivity and the, I need all the technology and I need all the things that like they might not be ready for that slowed down, conscious, intentional kind of way of being. And I think that learning how to sell that is that's an art, right? And like that's sort of what I love doing, is helping people learn like how do you attract those people, and then how do you convey to them that there's another way. Like they all want another way, they just haven't quite figured out like, well, how do I do that? everybody has all these expectations around me. It's like, well, is everybody going to be out like standing by your bedside at your end of your days? Like, no, it's going to be you. They're going to be saying, I wish I hustled longer or harder or faster. That's not what you're going to be looking for, the B at the end of your life. How did you want to be in your life? And so, yeah. Sorry, I felt like I just was like, on a soapbox right there, but it's like my passion pouring out.
It's all right. I get caught up in keeping my word. I want to keep my word. I want to follow through with what I say. And sometimes when I fall off, I feel really bad. Um, I'm trying to articulate what the pictures in my mind are showing me. I work with people. They tell me what they want. It just shows up for them. And I want to be able to do that to myself too. But for me, it's a really hard thing. I hate that. But letting go of it, coming back to it, will let it show up. Like my website. One event, please don't do this. I work with someone who wanted an event. I set it up. I told her no more than 2 platforms because 2 platforms is really pushing it. So she wanted 5. So I don't know why. I turned into an employee. I gave her 5 sites. Even after I've told her 2 is pushing it. It really is. Because even after you make walkthrough videos of how to use the platforms and they don't watch them, even if you invite them to a group walkthrough and they don't show up, they get confused because maybe that's not what they really wanted to do in the first place. It's very good to ask your speakers if they want to be there, if they have the time and energy to promote, and will they have the time, energy, and willingness to promote themselves within the last 2 weeks before the event.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they do, they want to be there. They want to have a successful event. They want to have the cross-pollination of the other speakers that are going to be there.
Yep. Yeah. And I think kind of going on what you're saying is like, don't be afraid to then make a decision to say, you know what, there were certain aspects of this event and I thought that there was some really great alignment and not feeling that. And so would love to have a conversation with you. Having worked in HR for so many years, a lot of times people avoid conflict, but I feel like conflict is just a conversation. It's only a conflict if you bring conflict emotion to it. And it can be really challenging to not meet conflict energy with conflict energy. But it's possible. And so just approaching those conversations and saying, hey, seems like you're not really holding up your end of the bargain here. And so I'd like to have a conversation about that. And that might, and that's pretty soulful, right? It takes courage to do that in a very kind and loving way. And I think figuring out like, how do you get your speakers? Like that's something that we've decided going into our next event, because our first 2 events, we really put more of like a wide umbrella of like, we just posted our speaker application out there into the world. But now, because we've built a community, we've got amazing people in our community. Like I'm blown away by like the people that are like, oh my gosh, I want to come to this thing. It's really, really exciting. And like what we're going to be doing for our future events is like, you have to be in the community to have access to speak at the event. And it's interesting because one of our speakers had somebody ask him how they could be, introduced to me so that they could be, apply to be a speaker in our future events. And he was like, well, like the first thing I would recommend is come to the event. And she was like, oh, I have to come to the event. By the way, there's a free ticket and there's a paid ticket. So it's like, yeah, like you could come to this thing for free, and you don't get the recordings and you don't get the afternoon sessions, but it's still super jam-packed. You get access to the community. And so he's like, I could tell that she really just wanted to promote her new book. This wasn't about her being engaged with your audience. This was about her getting on a stage, dropping her links and like getting her name out there. And that's not what our summit is. Like our summit at the core is about community building. And so it does require you really know, like, what is your event really, really all about? What are you trying to create? Who are the people? And like, what are those people going to want? And like, who are the people that are going to really be able to model that and emulate that? And that's really how I think you select speakers. We were very, very intentional about like, how do we engage with our speakers? Like we have a speaker orientation and they have to come to it. And if they don't come to it, then they have to have a one-on-one call with us. And that does mean that that's more work for us, but it's that important. It's that important because our speakers are basically representing us, right, as
Yeah.
the summit leader. And so if they're kind of falling down and they're not doing thing, and you know, and that's something that just requires on your end as a summit organizer to be a little organized about, and not being afraid to reach out and say, hey, I noticed that you haven't posted anything in the last month. And so I really just want to kind of put a reminder in front of you. What do you need from me in order to accomplish that task? Because it is our job to then equip them with swipe copy or graphics, and, you know, giving them the information on how to tag us. Maybe they've been doing the things, but we don't know about it because they're not tagging us on the social. So it's like, we have an obligation if we expect these things of speakers. This is my HR background coming out, right? Like, you can have a job description, but if you're not giving people the tools to do their job, how can you expect them to do their job, right? It's like, so kind of being very intentional about what you're doing at all of the different stages. And because it's not just them, they're also looking to you. Like if you're just blasting emails out that, like, you know, have 20 million things and you don't have it very organized, you know, I get lost in email. So when people send things and it's just like all in an email and there's not some other hub that I can go and look at, or you're sending me 20 emails instead of 3 emails that have a lot of stuff in them. Again, think about how you would want to be treated as a speaker. And that was one of the things that I was really proud of, is all of our speakers have said, like, you guys are so organized and communicative and everything is just so simple, even though it's a lot of things. Like, that's such a source of pride for me, because your speakers are what makes your event successful. They're who help you market it. You're leveraging their audiences. So it deserves so much care and love in what you're doing and how you're curating your speakers and how you're, you know, it's like you're the concierge for them. It's not the other way around. It is a little bit like you're working for them, but like it's a collaborative thing. And so I like to kind of think of it as like, you're your speaker's concierge. I mean, you're not giving them a green room with, like, you know, what's the list? Like Beyonce's got like a giant long list with like all her demands of what's in her dressing room, right? It's not like that. But you have to be intentional about that. So.
All right. So that was very good. I hope when you get the recording of this that you take that part and you clip it and put it out on all your socials, because that is a very good tip.
Oh,
And
thank you. If I was really good at that stuff, I would do it right away, but hashtag not my strength. So I'm still learning those skills.
you know there's an automation for that, but
I'm sure there is. Maybe you could give me a technology lesson.
Repurpose.io will do it for you. Well, you can put in this whole recording and it will snip it up. They
Oh,
call it snippets, and you can tell it where to go.
what's it
You can
called?
tell it what time to be there.
What's it called?
Repurpose.io.
All right, awesome. I'm going to look it up.
Okay. So tell us about your event one more time, the date and time, and what time
Sure.
should they be there, and how to get a ticket.
Yeah, so the event is the Soulful Entrepreneur Summit. It's January 24th through the 28th, 2022. The website where you can go get some details and grab your ticket is getsoulfulsuccess.com. And that's the best place to go. Go to getsoulfulsuccess.com. And you can follow me on all the different socials at Profit Coach. It's Proffit Coach. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So there's just like a bunch of stuff about the summit on those pages. But yeah, and then once you get your ticket, then you'll actually get the link to access our Mighty Network. And that's where our community building is happening. We are going to be having some pre-summit activities happening throughout the month of January. So we're really, really excited about that. And again, there's tickets range from free up to $297. So the all access passes, which is the middle range, those are $97, and they're on sale for a cheaper price through January 11th. So really excited just to kind of be able to bring people in. And, you know, if any of this resonated with you, we'd love to see you as part of our Soulful Entrepreneur community.
All right. Thank you for your time, Allison. This has been really great. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge and information with us.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And I like to say to be continued, Erica, because I know that our paths will continue to cross.